Hello, I am Kylie, and I decided that I would no longer be friends with girls. Yes, they are all traitors. And do you have a best friend? Write in the comments. I'm really interested. Also, subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you. Judge for yourself. Here is Liv, my best friend. We met when I moved with my parents to this city. We were 12 when we met. And I really admired Liv. Beautiful, blue-eyed, with long hair and a very sweet smile. She was like a picture. And I was very flattered that she was friends with me. First, she took on my image. Made me cut my long curly hair. "This is not in fashion now, Kylie. Better get a short haircut," she told me, writing to the hairdresser. I can't say that I liked the haircut, but Liv knows better. She's a top girl. Then she completely changed my wardrobe. I loved tight jeans and t-shirts. Everyone told me that this style suits me, but Liv just shrugged it off. "Are you kidding? It's already outdated. Free sports style, and you will look super." I had never been overweight. I had a normal figure. But in baggy pants, I looked some kind of big or something. But Kylie understands this better. She had a luxurious wardrobe, and it was constantly updated at a cosmic speed. Kylie was very careful about her figure. She ran in the mornings, but she always bought me fresh croissants for school. "I know how you love them, dear. Therefore, it is not difficult for me to run into a pastry shop in the morning and choose the most delicious ones for you." That's what friendship is, I thought. But for me, no one has ever done this. I was so grateful to Liv. I always carried her backpack for her, did her homework for her, even cleaned her room. After all, she invested so much in me, and one must be able to be grateful in return. In the class, I didn't communicate with anyone else until one day. Until a new one appeared, Sabrina. This girl from the first day showed that she does not get behind the word in her pocket. She was not interested in who was in charge in the class, who was with whom and what party. She did what she wanted. We came to physical education. We went into the dressing room and changed. Liv ran to practice, and I packed things, her things. "Do you enjoy doing this?" Sabrina stood in the doorway and looked at me with a mockery. "Liv is my best friend. We always help each other." I started to defend myself. "Hide your sharp claws, Kylie. I've been watching your… how do you say, friendship?" It's not friendship. Liv is just using you." I brushed aside Sabina's words and ran to the gym. Who is she to give me advice? As time went on, I noticed that the white sweatpants, which a couple of months ago hung loosely on me, are now tight-fitting, knocking another croissant brought to me by Liv. I complained to her that I had gained excess weight. "You're talking about yourself, Kylie. You look good. Calm down. Especially now everyone is drowning for body positivity. So don't worry, you are on trend." Well, since Liv thinks so, I really have nothing to worry about. The spring ball was approaching, and all the girls were discussing outfits. Who would wear what? The ball had an independent jury that evaluated each outfit. And the owner of the most beautiful and unique was awarded the crown, the highest award at the ball. Liv dreamed of becoming a prom queen, so she had a serious approach to the dress. She sewed an outfit to order, and she offered me to sew a dress from her seamstress too. "Trust me, dear. My seamstress will do everything in the best possible way. No one else will have a dress like yours." My dear Liv, I was so grateful to her for this offer. There were 2 weeks left before the ball. Liv was insanely nervous and twitchy. She went on a strict diet and ran to the gym every day to shine at the school event. And I had new worries. A cousin came to visit us for a month. He was a couple of years older and wanted to go to the university in our city. Michael and I grew up together and got along well now. Upon learning about the spring ball, Michael immediately offered to accompany me. Super! I'll introduce him to Liv there, I decided. "What are you wearing?" I remember classmates looking for a dress for the spring ball for a long time. Hearing that my best friend is doing tailoring, but I've never been to a fitting. Michael was surprised. "Look, I'm going to be a fashion designer, and I know a thing or two about it. It takes several fittings to get the dress to fit. Your friend is strange." This was already the second person who told me about it. But I had confidence in Liv. "You don't know anything about our friendship." Right now, I'll dial Liv, and you yourself will hear that my dress is ready, and they are waiting for me to try it on. But Liv did not answer me. Not after the second, not after the fifth call. She got in touch late at night. Hey Kylie, I had a massage. There are 3 days before the ball. I put myself in order. What did you want? I told her about the dress, and in response, I heard a long silence. Darling, you know, the seamstress has a force majeure. She had to alter my dress 3 times, and her hands never reached yours. But you know what I think? Why would you want to go there at all? A lot of people. Hype. You don't like that. Liv was on speakerphone, and Michael heard everything. I felt embarrassed and ashamed. Liv mumbled something in response, and I switched off. Don't worry. Michael put his hand on my shoulder. We will definitely come up with something, and they will still gasp when they see you at the ball. Michael took my measurements and asked him not to interfere. For 3 days, he did not leave his room. Through the door, when I brought him food, I could hear muttering, swearing, the sound of scissors, the tapping of a sewing machine. Michael did not allow me to enter. He made a dress for me. And on the day of the ball, in the morning, the door to his room opened. From there came a tired guy with big circles under his eyes. Take it easy, Kylie. He nodded to me. I looked and was dumbfounded. There was a dress hanging on a hanger in the room. It was made of the finest fabric, light as a cloud, with beautiful sleeves and an embroidered bodice. The image in the mirror shocked me. Is it really me? Michael also admired his masterpiece. I looked at his tired, but still joyful eyes. Thank you, I whispered. On the way to the ball, I thought, that is true friendship. The man donated his time to help me and asked for nothing in return. I wonder what Liv will say. Michael, in a beautiful black suit, was the first to run out of the car, gave me his hand, and together we went into the ball and stumbled upon Liv. Her elegant cocktail dress was so tight that she could not sit in it. Liv's eyes widened in surprise when she saw me. You still came, Liv said through her teeth. The dress is nothing. And who is this? She looked at Michael. This is my cousin. He created this beauty on me, Liv. Suddenly, our school photographer ran up to me. He took a full-length shot, saying that my outfit was noticed by the jury. And he already got a very high score. And that means that I can become the queen of the spring ball. Hearing this, Liv turned pale. She pushed me away and attacked the photographer. It's me who will become the queen of the ball and no one else, understand? Take pictures of me! Me! She shouted so loudly that everyone in the hall fell silent and looked at us. Who is she? Empty place, nothing. It's me, queen. I've been preparing for this for so long. Well, yes, the preparation was serious. Sabina appeared from the crowd. Feeding Kylie croissants, making her cut off her luxurious hair, hiding her beautiful figure under sportswear. It took time. Liv looked around the room in amazement. You just used her. Turned her into a pale shadow to stand out from her background. Sabina didn't hesitate, also my best friend. Liv yelled something insulting at Sabina and ran out of the room. Everyone was silent for a couple of seconds, and then they turned on the music again and the ball continued. Michael squeezed my hand and we began to dance. I did not become the queen of the spring ball, but I will remember this evening forever. I said goodbye to those who used and manipulated me for a long time, and I got a real friend who will always lend a shoulder and never demand anything in return. Sometimes you have to lose a lot to gain something priceless. I learned this well. Have you had such an experience? Lost a girlfriend? Write and I will definitely answer.
Clara, I think that's my name. Over the past month, I've gone through a lot of names in my head, and only Clara causes excitement. I don't tell anyone about this. I feel like I'm in danger. It's hard to believe, I know, but it's true. And by subscribing to the channel, you will find many more interesting stories. Let's start with the facts. The people I live with are definitely not my parents, although they try to seem like them, but they are both blondes with light eyes. And I am a burning brunette. Lynn and Marietta, that's the name of these so-called mom and dad, are very tall, and I'm short. Yes, and I just feel like we are strangers. I don't have any memories associated with them. Although they are supposedly my childhood photos hanging on the walls, but in them, I'm blonde. We live in a big house high in the mountains.
Sonia, are you awake yet? Pancakes are on the table.
Oh, that's my name. Sonia. but I'm sure that's not my name. It all started about a month ago. I woke up in this room. Marietta woke me up. Lynn was drinking coffee downstairs. We sat down to have breakfast. From the outside, it seemed like it was an ordinary family morning. And at first, I tried to convince myself of this, but in vain. A couple of times, I asked Marietta what was wrong with me. She gently stroked my head and told me that I had a slight concussion. We were riding bicycles and I fell.
It'll pass. Don't worry, honey.
But her lips were trembling treacherously at that moment. And in the evening, I heard her and Lynn whispering about something in the kitchen. She probably told him. I started a diary and began to write down the events that happened to me throughout the day. Maybe I have memory lapses? I once watched a film about a girl who remembered only today. What if the same thing happens to me? It was also strange that I did not go to school. Marietta explained that the local school was undergoing renovations, and it was too far to get to another city. That's why I'm homeschooled. And what surprised me the most was that I didn't have a mobile phone. And a laptop. Only a TV with a certain set of channels. Moreover, only entertainment programs, series, cartoons, shows, and no news. And there was no landline phone in the house. Lynn left early and returned late. Marietta was always at home. Sometimes she called somewhere, but always went into another room. I read, walked around the yard, watched TV. There were no neighbors. The house was surrounded by forest on both sides. Lynn brought the food. We had dinner. Then I went to bed. It all seemed like nothing unusual, but putting all the facts together, I realized that this is complete isolation. Me from the world. And no matter how hard these two tried to play family with me, I understood that they were deceiving me. But I wasn't afraid. I observed, analyzed, listened. One evening, I overheard a snippet of a telephone conversation. The door was not tightly closed, and Marietta seemed to be reporting to someone.
Within normal limits, she behaves appropriately. She doesn't show aggression and doesn't ask questions.
Yeah, so I was not mistaken. Maybe I was stolen. I read stories about how children from rich families are kidnapped, taken to such houses on the outskirts, and waited for the unfortunate parents to collect the ransom money. But why don't I remember anything? Or maybe I'm participating in some kind of scientific experiment. My memory was erased. And they will soon introduce another one? Maybe I'm destined for the role of a kamikaze killer? Or a spy? Wow, these thoughts sometimes made my head spin. But I kept waiting for the day to come when everything would change dramatically. It will just turn upside down. But my diary was almost completely covered. And that day never came. It's morning again. We have pancakes and tea. Marietta is laughing. Yes, I'm tired of all of this. Shut up! Suddenly, it was as if not me, but someone else threw a pancake at the woman sitting opposite. She turned pale, and she immediately pulled the fork and knife that were lying near my plate in her direction. Ha! So you are afraid of me. Apparently, my grin scared Marietta even more. She moved to the far corner of the room.
Sonia, everything is fine. If I don't like pancakes, I'll make something else.
Marietta tried to speak calmly, but her hands were shaking. And suddenly, it was as if I saw myself from the outside. One jump, and I squeezed Marietta's neck with my hands. Something in my head kept telling me, "Don't stop!" But instead, the hands only tightened their grip on the woman's throat. She tried to tear me away from her, greedily gasped for air, shouted something, and then began to weaken. And suddenly, I heard some rustling, then a dull thud and darkness. So, there was no aggression for almost a month. Not bad at all. I heard a voice as if through the wall. She opened her eyes. Oh, the room has changed. Just bare walls and windows. And bars on the windows. What? I tried to get up, but something was holding my arms and legs tightly. I've been tied up. Hello. The doctor bent over me. How are you? My throat was dry. I could only nod in her response. Her eyes stared at the woman's white coat. There was a badge hanging on it. Clara. Oh, this word always causes excitement. That's all right. For now, you can rest here.
Calm down, and your parents and I will think about how to help you.
And then I saw Marietta crying. Her neck was red. Bruises were visible. She was clutching my diary in her hands.
Which one is this already?
The 7th. I'll analyze it. Suddenly there are positive changes. Then I saw Lynn. Doctor, it hurts me to look at her. After all, this is my daughter, my blood, but she is sick. There is no point in being angry with her. And Marietta is suffering so much. Every time Sonia returns home after treatment, my wife hopes, and then another blow. The doctor quickly waved her hands. Not here. We'll discuss everything in my office. Sonia needs peace. Lynn hugged the crying Marietta, and they followed the doctor out. The door closed and I heard the key turn. I was closed. Everything was raging inside. Lots of questions. Am I in a mental hospital? Is Marietta really my mom? Is this my attending physician? How long will I be here? When will I return home? But each of these questions flashed through my head like shooting star and burned out. The eyelids were so heavy. I don't know how many days have passed. It's hard for me to count, and I don't want to. No thoughts. Everything is so clear. I look out the window and listen to the birds singing. Once, a woman visited me. She says she is my mom. But I know that this is all a game. I do not believe anyone. This is a test. You see everything yourself. Just shh. No one yet.
May. Good name. Short and sonorous. He looked at me appraisingly. Like in a store when you choose a toy or stock item, and no one would have guessed that this is a father's look at his only daughter. Hello, I'm not allowed to give my real name at all. The contract is prohibited, but I'll tell you, to not forget who I am. Alexandra. The usual normal name for an ordinary girl from Colorado. A year ago, I lived in the suburbs and was very happy. Mom and Dad loved me, spoiled me, protected me from everything. But one night changed everything. At that moment, I realized that everything was a sham and that nothing can be changed. For now, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell, and I will have the courage to tell you all the details. From childhood, my father always told me that I have a wonderful voice. There was a piano in the living room, and I often played music on it. Vocal and instrumental teachers came to me. I practiced almost every day. I liked it, but nothing more. But Dad always motivated and praised me. You must work hard, develop your talent. And I worked. I didn't want to disappoint Dad. I am his smart and beautiful girl. But my mother, she rarely left the bedroom in recent years. She was tormented by a migraine, then insomnia. But on those rare days when my mother still sat on the terrace with a glass of wine, I was very worried. After all, a couple of years ago, my mother was a very popular singer, and my dad produced it. All the walls in the house were covered with diplomas, awards, and photos of a happy and beautiful mother on stage. I read about her on the internet, since my mother herself never told me anything. And why her career ended so abruptly, I did not know. When I asked Dad about this, he only gently hugged me and said that Mom was tired, so she decided to take a break from the stage. One night, I woke up from a strange noise. It's like something has broken. I flew out of the room, went down to the first floor, and heard my mom arguing with my dad. I hate you! Do you hear? I hate you for ruining my life, Diego! But I won't let you do the same to her! I saw how Dad came close to Mom, grabbed her by the arms, and forced her to sit on the sofa. She began to sob. Dad handed her a glass of water and a handful of pills that magically appeared in his palm. He did not shout, did not swear, but whispered with restraint. You are just tired, Anthea. Drink. Everything will pass. Stop calling me that! I'm not Anthea! This is what you came up with! It's all lies! My mother yelled so much. I have never seen her like that. But then, Mom went limp, buried her nose in Dad's shoulder. He stubbornly handed her the pills. Mom drank them in one gulp. And after about 15 minutes, Dad picked her up, already half asleep, and carried her to the second floor. I pressed myself against the wall so that he would not notice me. This case was a turning point. I never saw my mother again. Dad said that Mom needed to rest, so she went to the boarding house to heal her nerves. From that day on, I began to study vocals even harder. Stage skills were needed, and there was very little time for school and homework. Dad transferred me to homeschooling, noting that soon I would not need it either. One evening, my father asked me to dress nicely and style my hair. He said he was expecting guests, and I had to make a good impression. The outfit itself, and it was a short leather dress with a corset, looked rather defiant. I realized this when I went downstairs, and everyone in the living room was silent. Dad was sitting on the couch, and next to him was another man in dark glasses. He looked like a rapper. Baggy clothes, a big chain around his neck. He whistled when he saw and nodded to Dad.
Not bad, Diego. What can she do?
Dad looked at me expressively, like, "Come on, show me what you have been studying all this time." I played the piano, sang, showed some dance moves, and even paraded a bit. I was terribly uncomfortable. That uncle with glasses was looking at me without looking up, but I didn't want to let my dad down either. After my performance, Dad nodded for me to leave, but crouching in the hallway, I heard Dad urge his friend.
She can. You will see. Give her a chance.
And now I'm sitting in the office of that rapper. It turned out that he had his own studio, and Dad signed a contract with him for a year, and together they will promote me as a singer. From now on, I am no longer Alexa, but May, a sweet-voiced girl with a sad face. I didn't know how to react to this. On the other hand, to become popular, recognizable, every girl of my age dreams of this. But on the other hand, I had no choice. Dad decided everything for me, and now even Mom was not there to take my side. Endless rehearsals began. Learning a song for recording the first single. Choreography, several photo shoots. Dad paid in various editions of promotional articles about me. I was put on a strict diet to get leaner, plus sports. I got up very early and went to bed after midnight to do everything. Dad controlled my every move. And somehow he suddenly began to demand a lot for me, not really choosing words. He used to cheer me up, praise me, but now I was a complete non-entity on which he spends precious time. Maybe the other would have burst into tears, rebelled, or simply turned around and left. But I only clenched my teeth tighter and worked. The advertising worked. The first single was recorded, and it went well to the public. The song stayed at the top of the charts for 2 weeks, and my dad wanted more. He decided to record a few more songs in a month and go on a little tour with me.
We will choose small halls to fill them to capacity. A photographer will follow you on your heels, fixing your every step and posting everything on social media networks. Subscribers like to spy on the lives of famous people, and we will give them a chance.
Dad's eyes were burning, and my head was cracking. I wanted to have a normal meal and sleep. I was like a robot that just followed other people's commands. The tour has begun. 5 cities, 5 concerts, and 5 sold out. The audience went crazy. I could hardly understand where I was and what was happening to me. Stage costumes were already hanging on me with a rag. I could hardly stop the trembling in my hands from constant hunger. But Dad didn't notice. He rejoiced and handed out interviews left and right. Before the final concert in New York, I felt really bad. I was nervous. It was the largest hall for 20,000 people. And I'm fucking tired. Plus, I caught a cold. I was shivering all night. The performance was scheduled for 7 o'clock. I had a dress rehearsal and had lemon tea in the dressing room to soothe my sore throat. There were 2 hours left before the concert. Dad ran in and said that a lot of people had gathered outside.
They're chanting your name, do you hear? This is a resounding success. I've already signed a contract for the next tour, May.
And then I could not stand it. Nerves gone. Dad, I can't. I'm very tired. I need some rest. My father boiled over and said contemptuously,
I wouldn't let you ruin everything. Stop whining. Get it together.
But I couldn't calm down. The head began to spin, and I lost consciousness. I woke up from the fact that someone whispered over to me. She needs to go to the hospital. She has a fever and several exhaustion. As if through a fog, I heard the cry of my father. He was outraged.
Give her something. Concert starts in 15 minutes. We won't cancel anything. Let it perform.
Dad, I have no strength. I'll fall right there on the stage.
Enough. You are already a grown girl, so it's time for you to find out the truth.
And Dad told me that I'm not his daughter. When he met my mother, I was a few months old. And while my mother was building a career as a singer, I was raised by a nanny. And then my mother could not stand this crazy schedule and left the race. And he invested a lot of money on it and burned out. And now it's my turn to repay her debts. Now I'm in rehab. Diego gave me a month to recover. And then I have to get back to work. He has a contract. But I won't give up so easily. I spent a week here, calmed down a little. I talked to someone, and I hired a lawyer who will protect my interests. I'm ready to get back on stage, but on my own terms. I won't give up like a mother. I will fight for myself. Support me with a comment. And I think you will hear the continuation of this story soon. If I could get into a time machine and get it back, I wouldn't think twice. And now, you sign and press the bell, and I'll give you the details. My name is Alice, and I am unbearable. At least, that's what my mother always says. From an early age, I was naughty, restless, inattentive, a terribly bad baby, who I went to unknown. And Mother repeated it day after day, year after year. I turned 15, and I was firmly convinced that I was just a freak of nature, some bug, a glitch in the program, and that everyone around me just put up with me, like my mom. So I tried to be invisible in school. Ask my classmates if Alice was at school today or not. They will not know what to answer, as they never notice me. At home, the scheme was clear to me too. The less I come across, the better. So in the evenings, I sat in my room, trying to keep quiet. The school year was coming to an end. There was no more strength to study, and even more desire. The lesson was boring. Who was napping, who was recently browsing social media was Miss Talbot. The math teacher was talking at the board. Suddenly, the door to the classroom opened with a bang. Sorry, I can come in. And without waiting for permission, a girl flew into the classroom in a whirl. She threw her backpack on the empty seat and looked around. She smiled when I saw her. And I smiled too. Who is she? Miss Talbot continued her tedious monologue, and I looked quietly at the new one. She was wearing very bright clothes and a funny hoop on her head. It's like running away from a cartoon. After the lesson, everyone hurried to the dining room for lunch. Everyone was in a hurry, shouting, fussing. In the dining room, I was pulled my hand to take the tray, but the last one was grabbed a second before. I finally got enough food to go to the empty table, but it was immediately occupied by the boys, throwing backpacks on the table. I'm used to it. I'll eat on the windowsill in the corner. Come to me! It's free! Someone yelled so loudly behind me that I almost got a tray of food out of my hand. But suddenly I was blocked by the road. I could not move slowly to the windowsill. Hey, I'm yelling at you! That bright girl grabbed my elbow and dragged me to the table almost in the center of the hall. It's not your day, is it? I'm used to it. I could barely hear it. I couldn't believe that girl was talking to me. Used to? Is it nice to be invisible? I was silent, and the girl smiled again. Okay, forget it. I'm Tyra, and it looks like we're classmates. I remembered this day hundreds of times. Meeting Tyra changed everything. We became friends with her, although we were like fire and water. Tyra was loud, obnoxious, and noisy girl. Everyone wanted to be friends with her in class. But only with me she communicated closely. Now in class, I was known as Tyra's friend.
Alice? Who's Alice?
Well, she's Tyra's friend.
Right.
I ran to the school to see Tyra. In class, we'd throw each other funny notes. And after school, we'd walk in the park, talk, and then go home at night. For the first time in my life, I have a real friend. I dreamed of her and me spending the summer, going swimming in the lake, having picnics, sharing secrets, hanging out at my place and watching scary stories together late at night. And I'm sure it would have come true if it hadn't. Jordan. One day that nasty guy blocked Tyra and me out of school.
Listen, gorgeous, send me your address. Tonight, I'll pick you up. We'll go for the drive in the evening.
And when he winked at Tyra, he pushed me with his shoulder and disappeared. That's cheeky. I couldn't stand it. He knows what he wants. I like it. Tyra, tell him you're not going out with him. We'll see. And Tyra hurried home, and I just stood there with my mouth open. There was so much anger in me that if Jordan would be there, it would destroy him in a second. After catching up with Tyra, I started telling her about Jordan. He has a terrible reputation. Today he walks with one girl, tomorrow he takes another one home, so it's better to have nothing to do with him. But Tyra stopped me with a gesture. Come on, Alice, I'll decide. You're not my mother. It was our first fight. Because of the guy. I rushed home and fell on the bed. Felt terrible. I won't let Jordan drive Tyra by the nose. In the evening, I was sitting in the bushes under Tyra's house. Jordan arrived. She jumped into the car and they left. I immediately called a taxi and followed them. After doing a few laps around town, Jordan went to the hills. Right. He's gonna stop somewhere in a dark corner and start telling Tyra how handsome he is. I was so angry inside. I saw them get out of the car. Jordan was whispering something to Tyra. She was giggling. Suddenly, he grabbed her by the hand and pulled her over. Don't you dare! I screamed so loudly that Jordan turned pale. And Tyra didn't say a word. Told me to get out of there. I tried to explain that Jordan wasn't right for her, but she wouldn't listen to me. The next day, Tyra came to me at recess. You ruined my date last night. I don't know what your problem is, but don't come near me again. I don't let anyone control me. It was like the ground had slipped out from under me. He took Tyra from me. Apparently, Jordan is better than me. Are you home? Alice, clean up the room. It's a mess again. That's how my mother greeted me. How many times have I told you? Keep the room clean. She was talking for a long time in the hallway, but I locked myself in the room and played loud music. I didn't want to see or hear anyone, except Tyra. I did not sleep all night. I firmly decided that I would not give it to anyone. After capturing a screwdriver from the storage room, I went to school. Right in front of me, Jordan turned into the school parking lot. Well, the bad guy. I'm gonna ruin your day so you don't have to steal any more best friends. After waiting for the class to start, I snuck into the parking lot. I went to Jordan's car. I stabbed the wheel with a screwdriver. It wasn't easy, but I did make a couple of cuts. Then, I threw the screwdriver in the trash and hurried to school. Today, time seemed to have stopped. The lesson dragged on unbearably long. I kept looking at the clock. Even my teacher made a note to me. Come on, all of you. Finally, everything was poured out into the street. I hid under a tree, and here is Jordan. He goes to the car, started her, and began to drive off the parking lot. But suddenly, I slowed down, and I saw Tyra getting into the car. No! Tyra, wait! Don't! I was running and waving my arms, trying to stop my friend, but she couldn't hear me. They were on the road, and in the mist, I saw Jordan brake, and suddenly his car started to go. And a minute later, a loud thud. I closed my eyes. It was over. These noises, they were coming. The ambulance. Opening my eyes, I saw Jordan's car hit a tree. On the cotton feet, I came closer. What I saw made me scream and cry. Don't forget to sign, please. Tyra, you're alive! The girl was sitting near a tree. She had a big abrasion on her forehead. She hugged her knees and all trembled. I'm sorry. I sat down next to her and I cried. Through the tears, I saw that Jordan was safe too. Apparently his arm broke. The paramedic from the ambulance was dressing him up. I felt a strong grip on my shoulder and started shaking. Is that you? Did you set this up? Tyra looked at me with those big eyes, like there was a monster in front of her, not her best friend. I couldn't give him to you. I whimpered. You're crazy! Alice, you need medical attention! Tyra attacked me. I closed my eyes and I didn't even defend myself. That's how I should. It's been a week. I'm grounded. My mom cries in the kitchen all the time, but I don't feel sorry for her. She's also responsible for me being like this. So says my psychologist. I have to visit him there 3 times a week. Social services decided this, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I learned so much in a few sessions. I cared so much about being friends with Tyra because she was the only one who cared about me. My mother devalued me, and it really affected my self-esteem. My mother also has to talk to a psychologist, and I really hoped that this will help to establish a relationship with her. Right now, my only wish is to apologize to Tyra. Hopefully, it will take time and she will talk to me. And while I'm learning to be confident, I'm learning to establish boundaries. So says my psychologist. I have a long way to go, and it's not easy, but I believe it will work out. And for you, there's a tip. Don't let anyone humiliate you. Even parents. Be happy and confident in yourself. Waiting for your like. Are you completely insane, or are you just pretending? That's how I met the new guy in the class. So what? There's 6 months left until graduation. All the ratings have been known for a long time. No one is arguing that I am the best. And then it's all upside down. The newly minted genius decided to spoil my nerves. By the way, I'm Linda Pinto. Nice to meet you. Look, some Neelan appears out of nowhere and boom! For the first 2 weeks, the teacher is shocked by his knowledge. From the last desk, he moves to the first, and the director almost says hello to him. Don't you dare cross me! I've had my teeth gnawed out for a couple of years with the palm tree at this school. I'm the one who decided to have a friendly chat with Neelan after school, and he's calm as a boa constrictor. I yelled at him. I shout, I stamp my feet, and he, as in Nirvana, calm, smiling? I couldn't help but grab him by the collar. Are you completely insane? But Neelan slowly took me by the wrists and lowered my arms. Calm down, I'm not pretending to be you. I turned around and quickly left, and after that, who is insane? The whole school witnessed Linda Pinto being flunked. Horror. But I didn't think to give up. I talked to my boyfriend Dick into talking to Neelan like men. Dick reluctantly agreed. A couple of days I tracked down which way Neelan goes home. And when he crosses the park, the opportunity to beat him up is perfect. Lots of bushes, a place in the bush no one will ever know. Dick took 2 more of his friends with him for the extras. And I waited for Neelan in the bushes nearby, rubbing my hands. Now you, Neelan, learn how it hurts Linda Pinto. At that time, Neelan really appeared on the path. He walked quickly. But then, as the casket jumped 3 young men, Dick and his fighters, I was sitting quite far away, but Dick's menacing gaze frightened him. He stepped forward, at Neelan, and threw his fist at him in front of his nose. I too have clenched fists in the bushes. Here you are, upstart. Now my boyfriend will show you how to… What? Neelan suddenly dropped the bag from his shoulder, and having made a coup in the air, one heel hit all 3 at once, and those rattling disappeared in the bushes. Oh, no. Something's not going according to plan. Okay, Linda Pinto will handle it all. Why? You just don't know the story of Camille Gypsum Leg. Yeah, after our conflict with her, She wasn't called anything else. The poor girl simply transferred to another school. And I warned. In the school corridor after school and without witness. Stay out of it, Camille. There can only be one queen in the school. And that's me. But Camille thought her father's 6-point check on the school pool would help her win the school beauty pageant. But it wasn't. I've tried on this crown so many times in my dreams. I worked so hard to be the best in every contest that no Camille could stop me. And yes, I'm sorry, I gave her a real scam before the competition, and it worked. I mean, I threw a big spider in her locker, knowing that beautiful girl had a fear of spiders. And you should have not told about it at every step. I also have phobias, but no one knows about them. So, I share a secret to disable the competitor. Buy a spider on the internet, but a lot, and put it in the locker under the textbooks. And then at recess, razz and screech the whole school and attempt to escape. But because of the slippery floor, a bad fall and sprained legs. Nothing serious, but Camille did not participate in the contest. And I got the crown. Coffee seemed insanely disgusting. After I drank it in my favorite coffee shop, this is apparently all because of the thoughts about this Neelan. Bobby was almost crying when I dialed him after the fight in the park. He told me that Neelan was some kind of ninja, and his heel was still swollen. Yeah, it's a tough situation, but I can't lose now. For 3 years, 3 long years, I climbed and climbed higher to become the best. At that in all categories. First, I pulled up all the items, crammed so the steam from the ears went. I studied on the weekends, and I sat after class in the library to always be one step ahead of others. And I did. The teachers have noticed how hard I try. And in the last 2 years, I have only the highest scores. Next, sports. I have long wondered that I can be the best. Team sports, like basketball and volleyball washed away at once. Swimming too. Do not pull. You need to train a lot and only in the pool. But the run? It's easy. I started running in the morning and in the evening. There were a lot of runners in the stadium near the house, and I was watching them, learning who was running, different techniques. Plus, I was watching YouTube videos. 2 months later, my gym teacher invited me to a workout class after. And I made the runner team. And there are competitions, races for the long distance and the first place. Yes, another tick in my personal profile. You already know about the beauty pageant and my crown. And here, 6 months left, and I want to be the best student that's gonna get a grant at Harvard University. And I can't get it for free. Otherwise, I can't study because I live here, in a very squalid neighborhood in a small room with my mother, who can barely support us. She works a lot and I feel so sorry for her. So my main goal is to go to university so that I can find a decent job. And mom will not have to work hard for 2. I really, really want to make her happy. She's done so much for me. She didn't think her life would turn out this way. She was married to a well-off guy. My dad continued my grandfather's work, and he had his own car repair service. Everyone in our neighborhood knew him. I was born in a big lighthouse that always smelled like mom's apple pie mixed with machine oil. We were so happy, but one day dad had an accident at work. Because of the short circuit, a fire started. Dad was saving other workers, and he himself did not have time. Mom did not bake apple pie anymore. And soon I had to move out of our big house. Turns out it was a loan, and my mom didn't have the means to pay for it. So we soon found ourselves in this little room, but nobody knows about it at school. For everyone, I am a successful and carefree Linda Pinto, the best of the best. Which do not put a finger in your mouth. Well, you understand. Hi, Linda. Neelan was standing outside my table. Can I sit? From the outside, it must have looked funny. The way I was sitting and as if I was looking at the guy? Well, I did not expect to see him there. This is the poor neighborhood I live in. And the coffee shop sells the cheapest coffee. Did you follow me? I wanted to talk to you. Leland sat down beside me without asking.
I know who you are and who your father was.
And then I heard this incredible story. It turned out that on the terrible day, when Dad had a short circuit and started a fire, he worked as a young mechanic. He was almost in the epicenter of the fire and only miraculously survived, swallowed smoke, lost consciousness, and came himself only in the ambulance. Then he found out in the hospital that his boss had saved him. Very high price, at the cost of his life. And the young mechanic swore that he would do anything to open his SRT and become the best.
And Dad kept his word. He never forgot who he owed his life to. He worked hard, no days off, and now owns a whole network of auto repair stations.
Dad? Did you say Dad? Neelan nodded. It turned out that on that terrible day my father had saved his father. Neelan had recently learned this story, and he found out that the little girl was an orphan,
who I promised to find and ask her for forgiveness.
I gritted my teeth tightly not to cry. I was covered with these bitter memories like a tsunami. Yes, I was an orphan. I grew up in a poor neighborhood, and I had to stand up for myself. I knew how to win my place in the sun. But it's not your fault, Neelan, and your dad's not. There's nothing to be sorry about. I suddenly forgot about the rivalry with this guy. Neelan punished us with ice cream, and we sat for like an hour just talking. We came out of the coffee shop as friends. Neelan reached out to me and began to say goodbye.
I'm leaving tomorrow, Linda. Dad's opening a branch in another city, and there I'll be studying until the end of the school year.
We won't see each other again? I said unexpectedly.
Harvard, you're going there, aren't you? And I'm sure you'll go there.
Neelan winked at me. And we met. At Harvard, yeah. Neelan went to learn business, and when we met, we hugged tightly. And all of a sudden, Neelan held me close and kissed me on the temple.
I missed you, Linda.
And I realized that this is the beginning of a new story, because I missed Neelan too.